Hi everyone, welcome back to the Social Media Simternship by Stukent. In this video, we are going to walk through round 10, our first social media round. In this round, we will be creating organic social posts, paid social posts, and we will be scheduling influencers. So usually we start out by looking at our results from previous rounds. However, in this round, I want to go ahead and jump into the scenario so we can talk about our strategy for these rounds, and then we'll come back and review some of our previous data. So jumping right into the review scenario, we have a video from our Vice President of Marketing, and we have our assignments listed. In our assignments, it tells us to review our analytics and historical data. Because we are going to be creating organic posts, it tells us to post frequently. We will also be creating paid posts and selecting and scheduling influencers. So everything we've done in previous rounds, we are going to combine that and do all of them in rounds 10, 11, and 12. Our impressions goal is 1 million and our revenue goal is 50,000. So let's go back and look at the results from some of our previous rounds. Let's start with our organic social post rounds. So if I click on one of these, we can see our impressions goal was 60,000 and our revenue goal is 4,500. Remember, in this round, we have an impressions goal of 1 million and revenue goal of 50,000. So what we produced in our organic social post rounds was good, but our goals are going to be significantly higher. If we look at our paid social post rounds, our impressions was 500,000 and our revenue is 30,000. So our revenue is getting much closer to what we will be doing in these sets of rounds. Then lastly, let's look at our influencers. So with our influencers, our impressions goal was actually higher than what it is in this round. And our revenue goal was 30,000 and our current revenue goal, reminder, is 50,000. So what this tells us is that we likely need to schedule our influencers and paid posts really well. Then we'll fill in our organic social posts to help make up some of the difference. In this round, our budget has increased to 15,000, so that's a great sign. We have additional budget. So let's look at our influencer history. So let's start with our influencers to see which ones performed well and which ones we likely would not want to schedule again. So if I scroll down on my influencer history, if I sort based on impressions, I can see that I've got Bella, Olivia, and Jake all have high impressions. As a reminder, these are our $2 influencers. So they cost anywhere from about $4,000 to $7,500. Let's change our view over to revenue. Okay, so we have 3 influencers that had revenue above 20,000, and Olivia is the influencer. She generated 40,000 in revenue. So 26,000 plus 20,000. So Olivia is a high revenue generator. We also have Bella, who's up here as well. We can see that Jake is now moving further down. So this could mean one of two things. One, if you remember, our giveaway bundle was not the best package choice for Jake. So we could try Jake again with a different type of bundle. It looks like we selected the brand ambassador bundle for Olivia and for Bella. So we might try this bundle for Jake to see if he would be a higher performer, or we could consider using either of the 2 influencers, Olivia or Bella, again in these rounds to see if they would be top performers. Let's go over to our paid and organic posts. So let's look at our post history. This is going to provide us our history from rounds 1 through 6. So all of our paid and all of our organic content. So I want to first start by sorting on impressions. And I've got my post type here tells me this is sponsored. So these are all of my paid posts that are at the top. So my top performing post based on impressions was on TikTok. And it looks like this was for the back to school Mindy profile. Then my second best performing post based on impressions is on Instagram, focused on up and comer Raj. And then I have a post on Facebook for my Daypacker Tom audience. Let's change the view over to revenue. And let's see which posts performed the highest based on revenue. So we still have our same top 3 posts in the same spot. However, our first and third post switch spots. So remember, our TikTok had the highest number of impressions and is now third in revenue. And our post that was third in impressions is the highest in revenue. So we have Daypacker Tom, Up and Comer Raj, and Back to School Mindy. And let's look at how much revenue did these posts generate. So my Daypacker Tom post generated almost $100,000 in revenue. My Up and Comer Raj is $85,000 in revenue, and my Back to School Mindy is $70,000 in revenue. So these tell me that we should be able to easily achieve our revenue goal of $50,000. If I already had paid posts that achieved higher than this revenue goal, then I should be able to do that again in these rounds. However, the impressions goal is going to be a little bit harder to meet based on the paid results that we already have. So if I go back to those results again, clicking on my post history, sorting by impressions, my top post was only 372,000 impressions. I likely do not have enough budget to create 2 paid posts and a top performing influencer. So these are things that I need to keep in mind as I am starting rounds 10, 11, and 12 to think about which type of content is going to generate the highest impressions and which type of content will generate the highest revenue. So I encourage you guys, go back through the feedback for each of these posts. So even though our reel here on TikTok was the top performing in terms of impressions, having a call to action like shop now or see offers could have increased the revenue. So this tells me I do have the top impressions based on this post. And if you remember, this was third in terms of revenue. If I changed my call to action to be stronger, I might have increased that revenue. And so it wouldn't have performed third. Maybe it would be my top performing post in terms of revenue as well. So please make sure to go back through and review all of this feedback, so that way you know how to create the best possible posts. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. Let's look at our inbox messages. So here we are now promoted to social media manager, so that is great. And we have some tasks for this week. So this is telling us that we need to balance our workload. We want to keep our budget in mind. We need to draft campaign briefs for our influencers. It tells us that as we're starting our new position, we want to remember that best practices are called best practices for a reason. And then it gives us our assignments again for the week. So we reviewed our analytics. You will do that in much more detail. We can review all of our reports again. I've opened them up for us so we can review them when needed. And we have to allocate our budget. We are scheduling organic, paid, and influencers for this round. So let's click now on our chat messages. Remember, we have chat messages every week. So we need to click through and respond to each of these. Our market information and our review documents, these are all the same that we've had from previous rounds. I want to note a couple of things in some of these reports though. So if we go to our social media audit, as a reminder at the bottom, this tells us how our audience is interacting with certain elements. So casual tones, hashtags, the image in use of the product, static images versus videos. It also gives us that recommended character count. So if you remember in some of my early organic posts, my character count was out of range and I received point deductions for that. So this is something we want to make sure that because we are scheduling all three types of posts, we are being very cautious and making sure we're following all the guidelines. In our Reynolds research report, I also want to pull this one back up because I want to look at the average post per week among Buoy's competitors. So this is going to be important for our organic rounds. If you remember in our simulation, if we go back to the review scenario, it tells us, remember, you should be posting frequently for that organic content. So we want to look at this report to see how frequently our competitors are posting on some of these top platforms, and you should be posting around the same. Let's go back to our simulation now and start creating our posts. In these social media rounds, I like to start with the posts that take the most amount of budget. So I will either start with our paid posts or influencers and then come back and fill in with the organic posts. So I'm going to start with our paid posts. For this round, for the purpose of the video, I will schedule one paid post, one influencer, and one organic post. I encourage you guys to schedule additional organic posts, especially, and if budget remains, you can schedule additional paid posts or influencers. So I'm going to start with a paid post. And for my paid and organic posts, I am going to focus on my up-and-comer Raj profile. For up-and-comer Raj, he is active on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. So for my paid post, I'm going to use Instagram, and for the organic post, I'll use TikTok. So let's go ahead and start with our first paid post. We will create a reel on Instagram. If you remember in our paid posts, the first thing we have to do is select our campaign objective. I am going to select an objective of conversions and create content. First thing I want to do is select my media, and up-and-comer Raj uses the messenger bag. So I'm going to focus both of these posts on the messenger bag. For this paid post, I am going to select the travel pause. So a well-dressed man in a suit with a messenger bag stands in an airport terminal looking out at planes on the tarmac. So we will pick the travel pause. My text or my caption is going to say, work smarter, travel lighter, and stay organized. See why professionals choose the Legacy Messenger. So my caption here is 100 characters. If I go back to my audit on Instagram, my character count is between 40 and 125. So this is perfect. I can come back up and select my headline. If you remember from previous rounds, I received feedback that my headline did not spark curiosity or urgency. So I've asked a question that says, ready for your next move. So I have my headline, I have my text, I have my media. My call to action, I'm going to use a strong call to action. I'll use shop now. My website URL, because I specifically mentioned the Legacy Messenger, I will add the Legacy Messenger. And for my budget, I am going to go ahead and use the full budget. So $3,500 plus my media cost of $400. Let's see if I already have an up-and-comer Raj audience. I do. So I'm going to select my up-and-comer Raj audience. We've got ages of 21 to 28. So 21 to 28 male. And we have 11 interests. So I'm going to go ahead and use this audience instead of either editing or creating a new one. So it looks like I have all of my components for this post. We can go ahead and select schedule reel. And we can see now we have $11,100 remaining. Let's go ahead and schedule our first influencer. So if we click on schedule influencers, we can see the influencers we scheduled previously. So as a reminder, our top performing influencers were Olivia and Bella. So these two had our highest impressions and our highest revenue. Jake was not too far behind. I think one of the biggest issues with Jake was that we selected the giveaway bundle, which was not the best package for Jake. So let's go ahead and click on schedule influencer. And even though our budget is higher, if we click on a $3 sign influencer, the cost is still anywhere from $20,000 to $25,000. And so even at our full budget of $15,000, we won't have enough to schedule one of these types of influencers. So we do need to continue with our $2 sign or our single dollar sign influencers. If you remember, our influencers are focused in on that OG backpack. So we still want to make sure we're focusing on the OG backpack, which resonated most closely with our Daypacker Tom audience. So we have our OG backpack for Daypacker Tom. So coming back to our influencers, I think we should try Jake for a second time. So Jake was meeting our outdoor adventure and survival Daypacker Tom audience. Our interests included the hiking, backpacking, hiking trails, rock climbing, camping gear. So this did resonate with Daypacker Tom. 70% of the audience is male. 60% is between the ages of 18 and 34. Daypacker Tom's audience is 24 to 31. So that fits well. If you remember, our cost per engagement is relatively low, and our overall performance, like to comment ratio 37 to 1, that's pretty good. Our comment sentiment is mostly positive. So let's go ahead and select this influencer. Last time we selected our giveaway bundle and we're told that this was not the best package for Jake. So we have the option between brand ambassador bundle and branded content bundle. We've selected the brand ambassador bundle for other influencers and it's worked out well. So I am going to select the branded content bundle, mostly because we've not used this type of package in previous rounds, and I want you guys to see a variety of content. So we'll select our branded content bundle. Here we've got 3 posts and 3 stories on Instagram, and then 1 video on YouTube. As a reminder, Daypacker Tom is on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok most frequently. So Instagram meets that well. YouTube may not be our best choice. It might be that our ambassador bundle could be a little bit better. So we will find out. So we have to do our campaign brief again. So I'm going to fill this out quickly. And we can schedule our influencer. So we can see we have Jake scheduled for the branded content bundle, and we had not used the branded, we did use the branded content pack for Zachary. I'd forgotten about that. We can go back and look at those results as well. So we still have a balance of $5,600, and we are going to create 1 organic post for this round. Remember, for the paid and the organic posts, I was targeting our up-and-comer Raj profile. So I will select TikTok, and the media I'm going to use is Cafe Reflection. A man in a suit with a messenger bag stands thoughtfully in a cafe while other patrons work in the background. So we'll select this video, and then we have to add our caption. My caption is going to say, Coffee headlines first meeting at 9. How do you start your workday? Let's go back to TikTok, and we can see our character count should be between 40 and 100. My character count is 69, so that fits within the range. I am using a messenger bag again, so let's be consistent and select our legacy messenger bag. Then, if you remember, for our organic posts, we have to schedule a day and time for our post. So let's go back to our social media audit and we can find the best engagement times for TikTok. So let me zoom in here so we can see. So our best engagement times, it tells us Tuesdays, 4 to 6 p.m., Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. I am going to select Thursday. So let's pick Thursday at 4 p.m. So we can see Thursday from 2 to 6 p.m. are the top performing engagement times. So let's go back to Thursday at 4 p.m. And I can click schedule TikTok. So we can see now, if I click on the organic post, I have one TikTok post. Paid, I have one Instagram post, and I have one influencer scheduled. I still have a budget of $5,000 left, so I encourage you guys to either create more organic posts, add additional paid posts, or even select another influencer. For this round, though, I will just create one for each, and we can go ahead and review and submit our round to see how we did. Okay, so clicking on Start Round 11, this tells me I performed well, but I did not meet the impressions goal. So I was a little bit short on my impressions goal. However, I did meet the revenue goal. When we start round 11, we'll start by reviewing our results and then decide how we want to proceed for round 11. So good luck in round 10. Let me know if you guys have any questions.